I remember the precise moment I decided I was going to be fantastic, like fantastic at content. And I do like creating content, guys. You guys know this. And I was sitting on a beach in Gambia, and this is when I was primarily focused on my leadership consulting business, which I'd had for many, many years, but it had never been online. And I'd brought it online. So I'm like, let me try and expand this. And I couldn't figure it out at the beginning, but then I started to really study the content that moved me, what I thought was interesting, and start to get excited about being good at all of this content thing, right? And it really started to work. It really started to work. And then I got meningitis, and then I abandoned that business and focused on my spiritual business. But you know, it was an important lesson, because what that meant was then as soon as I really started to focus on this business, on Threads, it really just, it blew up. And it didn't blow up immediately, but the signs were all there that it would, right? In terms of the traction on the content, right? So I want to talk a little bit today about the spiritual and energetic reasons behind really good content, okay? And behind content that is converting to clients, because lots of people have got lots of followers and they get lots of engagement, but they're not making any money. I know, because a number of them are my clients. And so this is not where we're trying to go, right? We're trying to also generate income, and we're trying to help people, right? We were trying to provide our services. So I'm going to talk about that, but then I'm also going to talk about one of the frameworks that I have around high converting content specifically, which is more of a practical, how can you implement these things? And I'll talk about that at the end. And then we'll have time, as usual, for some questions, some coaching, any of the things people want to talk about with regards to destiny and business, right? So where am I going to start? So I'm going to talk about a few spiritual and energetic reasons why you might be posting a lot of content, but it may not be converting. Okay. So, gosh, I'm just hoping my internet holds up today, because she's not wanting to play ball. Okay, so reason number one, which you will not be surprised in me saying, is that your offer, your business, what you were talking about in general is not in alignment with your destiny. This is the number one reason why people are posting content and it isn't creating the outcome that they are looking for. And before you kind of roll your eyes, I want you to really think about this, okay? Which is that if you could really do anything, is this the thing that you want to be doing? Is the mission that you're on really reflected in your business and in your offer? When you think about talking about it, which is basically all content is, does that excite you? Does it feel in alignment, or does it feel like a heavy lift, right? Because all content really is your message, right? It's you talking about not just your offer and what you do to help people, but all of the stories, the experiences that you've had, how you've come across what you've discovered, okay? It's your personal story. It's just talking in and around your mission, right? So if you really are feeling like it's a challenge and it's difficult, a reason may be that you are not in alignment with your destiny, okay? Number one. So now we've got that out of the way. The second reason, and the guys who are in my program Gods of Money will be familiar with this terminology, right? The second reason why it may not be converting is that you haven't tapped into the desires of the collective, okay? And this links to sales as well, sometimes why people aren't selling in general. What do I mean by this? I mean that all sales, particularly when it comes to spiritual sales, but it actually applies across the board, are responding to a conscious or unconscious need that is being expressed in the collective. And I'm going to go into later some practical ways that you can do it, right? But the business world calls this product market fit, which means that even though we see a lot of businesses fail, many businesses fail, it often takes those iterations and that number of failures to get to the point where what you have created matches what the market is asking for, okay? It's not just a business phenomenon though, it's a spiritual one, which is that the collective are asking for something on an unconscious level, and you need to be able to tap into that vibrationally, energetically, right? In conjunction with what you've been called to do, all of those things need to fit together. Okay, so that's reason number 2. Number 3, yeah, it might be that your message, which is associated with your offer, is not big enough. Okay, and big is sort of a relative term. You don't need to have a message about social justice and civil rights for your message to be big enough. It's relative to you. So if you are playing small and you are not saying the thing that you have been called to say, you are not going to either want to post content, or if you are posting it, it's just not going to have the potency that magnetizes people to it, okay? Because what I've realized, like I was saying about that moment on the beach when I realized I was going to master content, okay? The thing that I really sat with when I was starting to get traction in that leadership business was, what is the thing that I really want to say but I'm actually not saying? And I really sat down with myself to understand what that was. And as soon as I began to start saying it, as soon as I started saying it, I started to get a reaction. Okay. And so that is what I mean when I say that your message might not be big enough. If you are hiding your light under a proverbial bushel, okay, you are not going to magnetize the people who are meant to hear your message and align with it. They will not be magnetized to you. So that, I think, was reason number 3. Reason number 4 is that you believe content is hard and you post out of obligation. This is like a very quick way to kill your business, by the way, when you start to do things that are out of obligation. And this is where the energetics comes into it, okay? I said before that your strategy, whether that is a business strategy, an offer strategy, or indeed a marketing strategy, is just a container for the energetic decision that you have made. Which means this: any strategy can work, any strategy. Okay, you just need to find one that is in alignment with you. So if you are posting out of obligation because you feel like you need to, because you feel that you have to, you are just not going to be conveying anything that is magnetizing to people, right? This is all about creating resonance with who your people are so that they can find you. Yeah. Reason number 5, you are not rested enough. This is actually a really, really big one. So, as I say, I enjoy content. I love it. Okay. I like sharing what I think is a very important message about destiny, about energy, about manifestation, about business. Okay. I love doing that. But if I start to get myself into a bit of a cycle of not having rested properly, not having eaten properly, not having put myself first, okay, and I'm starting to feel run down, I actually feel like I don't have anything to say. And if I start to post out of that energy, right, it's always going to fall flat. And falling flat, by the way, is not just about engagement. As I'm saying, it's also about people, you know, interacting with you, wanting to work with you. That's really the main thing. I actually don't care very much about likes or anything like that. It's really about people wanting to take that next step. Okay, that's an important part. So rest is very, very important. And then number 6, the last thing that I'm going to talk about in this particular session on content is you might not be converting clients from your content because you are not vibrating at the same frequency as your client or ideal client. And I might do a completely separate training on this one. But essentially, sometimes those of us who are in this space, in the healing, energy, spiritual space, okay, we've done so much work on ourselves that we've become too high vibe, right? And what that often means is that we no longer can tap into the challenges that our ideal client is facing, the place that they are currently in, because we haven't been in that place for a very, very long time. And that shows up in a few different ways. It shows up in the language that we use, the examples that we tell, the stories that we tell, okay, and then they're just not quite hitting and resonating with the people that we're trying to help. So that is a really, really big one, okay? You can have all the right intentions around wanting to help people, but if you're just not in the same place as them, you're just not going to find them. You're just not going to find them energetically. So being able to play with vibration, so you can be up and you can be down and you can move with the frequency, is a really important practice, okay, when you are in the service business. So those are some reasons that it may not be working. So I'm going to share a few things, right, in terms of how you can address this, and then I'm going to go into my framework. So number one, the thing that I have found very helpful for me, and I'm also a projector, guys, you guys know this, is that you need to pour into yourself first. Yeah, so before you think about creating any content for anybody, are you swimming in the ocean of what you are here to talk about? Are you swimming in the ocean of your mission, your topic? Are you getting nourished from it before you can share it with others? This is really, really important, and a very practical thing that I do is I don't do anything until I have had that special time with myself, with my spirit team in the morning, literally before anything, before any work, before anybody. Okay, and that can take many different forms. That could be meditation, that could be reading a book, that could be watching a video, but something you do just for yourself, because you need to be full. Content is it's basically overflow. It represents abundance, right? It's out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks, right? It's a nice Bible verse for you. So you need to pour into yourself for that overflow to manifest. That's number one. Number two, which is related to this, is the spiritual practice of contemplation. This is, I literally cannot describe to you how important this is, guys, okay? If I would attribute the success of my business, but also my career in general, nearly 20 years in business, okay, to one thing, it would be this one thing, this one practice, contemplation. This means sitting with yourself, with your spirit team, and pondering upon the collective desire. What do they need? What problems do they need solving? What are their challenges? How do they think? Why do they think that way? How do they come to think that way? What is their background? Putting yourself in their shoes, it really comes from contemplation, partly, also from speaking to people, etc. But that practice of trying to solve people's challenges first in your mind and understanding what the root causes of those challenges might be, so you can go to another level of transformation and helping them transform them, is gold dust. And I will tell you now that 95% of people don't do this. So we're out here trying to run these businesses and do all of these things, okay, but we don't actually spend any time thinking about the unconscious desire of our ideal client and the conscious desires and their needs, okay? Another way that I've often described this is about client obsession. Client obsession, yeah. I have a series of invocations that I often used to do, and I still do them from time to time before client calls, which is putting me in the mindset of the person that I'm trying to help, right? This is, if you don't take anything else away from this training, I would encourage you to take that. The third thing that I would say to do, which is more of a practical thing, is to study good content. So you would have all bought something from someone who has been posting content, right? You want to kind of unpick what it is that they've done. What are the hooks? What are the things that moved you? What did you like? And also content you don't like, okay? The best way to really start to get good at this stuff is to understand what moves you as a buyer. Even though your buyers are not going to be exactly the same as you, if you can first understand yourself and your patterns, you are then going to create the platform to understand other people and their patterns. So a good bit of study and introspection is a good practice, right? Now, this last thing that I'm going to say, just on a few things that you can do to improve your content game, right, is really important. And alone, I think, is worth thousands and thousands of dollars of coaching, okay? Which is this. We are in a very weird energetic environment. I talked about that last week. And some people are calling it a trust recession and all of the things. Okay, so that is true. What it does mean is that I wouldn't say necessarily it's harder to sell with just content. I don't know if that's necessarily true, but I do think you need to be more intentional. And something that you can do to really help with this, okay, is to do live events, right? I'm a big fan of a masterclass type approach. You see me use the entire life of this business, okay? So it's particularly social media is not really designed to help you sell directly. They have not built the platforms for this, okay? So being able to get people off those platforms into something else that's free, where you get to talk to them one-to-one, they get to see your expertise at a level of depth. The ability to convert from those things is very, very high, okay? But obviously first you need to get people to want to invest in that, right? Which is might not be money, but it's investing of their time and their energy to spend that time with you, okay? So that's my big tip. In terms of if you're trying to sell directly from social media, that's good, but also try and use it to get people into a space where they can hear from you more and understand what you're about and ask you questions directly. Okay, so those are just some things, right? Now I'm going to share with you Content Alchemy, which is my high converting content framework. And I'm going to go into this in more detail in the Destiny Offer Masterclass, which is going to be on the 29th of November. And in that session, I'm basically going to take everything I've done in all of my VIP days. I've now had 6 rounds of the Destiny Offer VIP day, okay, which is my signature offer. And I'm going to essentially share it all in a live free format for everybody, and I will go into some of this in more detail there, okay? But today I'm just going to give you the very high level pieces of it, right? Now, high converting content is specifically about content that you post that is meant to directly lead to an action. So someone isn't just reading it for the sake of reading it, okay? An action, whether they buy something, they book a sales call, they come to a workshop, whatever it is, okay? And the way to think about this is it's almost like an advert. It's like an ad. So it has an important job. Now, I wouldn't advise to post this type of content all of the time because you can really burn out your audience, okay? But I do think this is a pivotal part of your overall content strategy. It's not the only thing. So what are the key elements? So there are 5 key elements of a post of this nature. Number 1 is the hook, yeah, which grabs attention in some way. Number 2 is a core idea. Number 3 is a client mirror. Number 4 is a story. And number 5 is your offer. And number 6 is a call to action. Okay, so I'm going to talk about them all quickly. Actually, the seventh point I would add to that is natural urgency. So you don't want to be using unethical urgency in these types of posts, okay, or in general. So number 1, right, So the hook. I could do an entire class just on hooks, but I'm probably not going to. Hooks are very important in this world where we have very short attention spans, okay? Now, this is the key thing you want to think about when it comes to a hook. It's something that grabs attention, and it's something that creates an open loop in somebody's mind, right? What do I mean by that? I mean that they need to resolve what you have just put in front of them. So it could be it's basically curiosity. They're curious to know, how does the story end? What do you mean by that? How does this, what happens in the rest of the story? That is a hook. That is a really, really good hook, okay? The other piece that you want to have in there is the core idea, which is like a perspective shift. Okay, it's an insight. It's something that they haven't really thought about. And this could be in the hook, this could be secondarily, okay? But this is where I want you to think about all of the controversial opinions that you have that you are refusing to say. This is what people want to see and hear. They are not interested in a cookie cutter post, another one of those. They're just scrolling. Like, this is the thing we all need to understand, okay? People are scrolling and scrolling and scrolling, doom scrolling, looking to feel something. They're literally waiting for you to make them feel something. And this is your opportunity to do it. There's no point adding to all of the noise. Let them feel something when you write or you make a video or something, okay? So a perspective shift, something that disrupts, like it's a pattern interrupt, it disrupts their way of thinking. And this is inside your controversial opinions, right, about your industry, about the area that you work in. Number 3, really critical, the client mirror. So this is where you get to demonstrate the empathy. So when I was saying that you need to be vibrating at the same frequency as your client, this is where you really get to show that. So it might be a story that you tell that is about when you were in the situation that they were in. It could be something from their day. So it's like, you know, you're basically playing back to them something that they are experiencing or they feel during the course of a 24-hour period. It's something that stops the scroll because they see themselves in it. They go, that is literally me. That is literally me. How did you know that I was experiencing that? Are you watching me on a secret camera? You know, it could be their secret thoughts, okay? The client mirror is really important. Number 4 is the story. Okay, so storytelling, and it can be storytelling in multiple different ways. It can be your personal story. It could be a story that you've taken with a client. It could just be the story format. Okay, we are wired evolutionarily to respond very well to stories. And so having a story of some form works very well in these types of posts. Okay. So this already might seem like a lot to get into one post, but I promise you, you don't need a lot of words to do all of this. And then number 5 is the offer. So this is not necessarily the call to action. This is just weaving in the idea that you have an offer, because sometimes social media actually suppresses a lot of these posts where they are direct and they're asking for the sale. So what you need to do is you need to creatively weave in. For example, I might post something that says that is a story, right? Something that I've experienced with a client in my VIP day. Okay, so now people know that I have a VIP day, right? It's weaving in the offer. And then you want to have a call to action, yeah, which, as I say, it makes a lot more sense in this environment for that call to action to be something relatively low risk and low effort. So something free, could be a call, it could be a workshop, it could even be a freebie, right, for them to join your mailing list. And then number 7, natural urgency. Okay, so urgency does work. Urgency does work. But if you're anything like me, you feel probably very icky about using it and don't like to use it. That is me. So natural urgency for me is you are having a masterclass in 2 days or 3 days, well, then it creates its own urgency for people to want to join if they want to join live. So you just mention it. That's all you need to do. You don't need to do anything extra. You just mention where urgency already exists, right? So if you have all of these elements together, and you're using them judiciously in your overall content strategy, yeah, you are going to find not very high engagement necessarily, but you will find that you are getting more inquiries to work with you. Okay, so it's like a very practical thing, but you need to combine it with the energetics, right? With the alignment, with the things that I talked about earlier on. Okay, now I'm going to just wrap up with a couple of things that you need to also think about. So one is the feeling that you want to leave people with. The feeling that you want to leave people with is incredibly important, and is something I don't see a lot of people talk about. You don't want to leave people feeling like you're slapping them in the face all the time. And I say that as someone who gives a lot of reality checks to people, okay? But you want people to feel like you're with them and you're not like you're talking down to them, which comes back to that vibrational alignment with your clients. You're with them, you're encouraging them, you're letting them know that they can do it, that it's achievable. Because a big part of sales is not just that they don't necessarily trust you or know who you are yet, but it's that they don't trust themselves or believe an outcome is possible for them. So you're going to help them. You want to leave them with the feeling that it is possible, okay? The other thing I would with is you essentially don't want to be in the energy of proving, of begging them for anything, of desperation energy, of apologizing for your point of view, or shrinking, making yourself small in any way, okay? These types of feelings are incongruent with conviction and the energy behind getting people into your world, okay? So that is where I'm going to leave it. I've been talking for a long time, my goodness. Hopefully that was really helpful for you. There is a lot more detail behind this, and as I say, we'll break this down in the masterclass in a couple of weeks' time. But hopefully that gives you something, quite a lot actually, there for you to play with and work with. All right. So I'm going to take any